A gathering in New York that the UN chief describes as a one-of-a-kind moment for leaders from every corner of the globe to not only assess the state of the world, but to take actions that will benefit the common good.
Action is what the world needs now. We will be gathering at a time when humanity faces huge challenges, from the worsening climate emergency to escalating conflicts, the global cost of living crisis, soaring inequalities and dramatic technological disruptions. And people are looking to their leaders for a way out of this mess. Yet, in the face of all this and more, geopolitical divisions are undermining our capacity to respond.
High-level week will kick off with an SDG summit on Monday focused on a political declaration seeking to recharge momentum on implementation. The general debate begins on Tuesday when President Ramaphosa will deliver the country's statement. Wednesday sees a dialogue on financing for development, the Climate Ambition Summit, and a meeting focused on pandemic preparedness, with a high-level meeting on universal health coverage set for Thursday, among others. While geopolitical divides from the conflict in Sudan, coups in West Africa, and the continued global implications of the war in Ukraine also expected to feature strongly, including in the Security Council.
A lot of countries from Africa and Asia would like to focus the General Assembly on development and on issues like debt. But with President Zelensky coming from Ukraine, it's inevitable that he will suck up a huge amount of media attention and political attention. I think this is primarily about political theatre. Zelensky is not going to have back-channel discussions with Lavrov while he's in New York. He's going to use this as an opportunity to make Ukraine's case to non-Western countries that Kiev worries are still quite sympathetic towards Moscow. And the General Assembly is a very good stage for him to do that.
The development agenda focused holistically on the means of implementation and the complex question of financing a just transition, particularly in the energy and climate space, as developing nations become increasingly impatient with the lack of resources needed to make the 2030 agenda a reality.
The week is about turning things around, but we need the investments to scale them up, to truly make them programs and changes in economies that should be more inclusive. What do we expect to be achieved? First, we really do need a recommitment from all leaders to deliver on the 2015 promise. We need a clear way, because we do see the major barrier as the means of implementation, financing this agenda, be it the domestic resources that are needed that are under strain with many countries without much fiscal space.
In a world where almost half of humanity is living in countries that spend more on servicing debt than on health or education.
Africa is losing $88 billion a year due to illicit financial flows, which is 3.7% of its GDP. Don't give aid to Africa, just let them keep their resources, and they will show you how to invest in the SDGs. That's also a question on the table for leaders to address. How do we fix the systems that allow this? It also involves corruption, but it also involves tax regimes, custom regimes, and whatever global incentives are given for investment.
A portfolio of agenda items that needs greater consensus in a world increasingly fractured by distrust and disagreement.
All that while President Ramaphosa's visit here has generated additional interest given South Africa's posture in relation to the war in Ukraine, Pretoria's perceived closeness to the Russian Federation in the context of the now stalled Black Sea grain deal, and his leadership role in the African Peace Initiative, visiting both Kyiv and St. Petersburg earlier this year. On the national front, he'll step away from meetings at the United Nations to engage with business leaders on Monday, hosted by the US Chamber of Commerce and South Africa's Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. Shervin Briceby's SABC News, New York.